This is the Kratom Science Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Gallagher, blog and social media writer for KratomScience.com, your source for all things Kratom. My guest is Maxime Ruel from Quebec, Canada. Max was a construction worker who was electrocuted on the job. This led to extreme chronic pain that put him out of work. He eventually became homeless. After trying several medications, he discovered Kratom, which he says saved his life. This is Maxime Ruel, and this is his Kratom story. So you live in a cabin in Quebec with no electricity. How do you charge your phone?
Oh, I plug it in
or
my
your
car.
computer? In your car?
Yeah, that works. That works the best. I mean, other than that, I have a small wood stove, and I get by.
I mean, how cold is it up there now? It must be pretty cold.
Oh man, there's like yeah, it's cold. There's wind, and there's about a foot of snow on the ground.
How'd you get to live out there? Do you have some land up there?
Oh, that's like an alternative to being homeless for me. Actually, I couldn't afford like the treatments I was doing for pain.
Yeah.
And so I opted out of my my room share, and I came to the cabin. It's a family cabin, so
Oh,
I'm saving some money here, and traveling all the way to Ontario like once a month to get ketamine infusions done.
All right, well, let's go through your story. You were working as a carpenter and you got electrocuted, is that right?
Yeah, I was doing a plywood on the floor. So I was replacing this rotten plywood on a porch, and I was bending over, and this wire was sticking out of the wall. And so as I put a knee on the ground, the side of my head touched the live wire.
Oh, damn.
So that was quite something.
I always imagined what it would feel like to get. I can't imagine what it would feel like to get electrocuted. What happened? Like, what did you feel? Was it painful?
Yeah, it's beyond pain. It was overriding. I would say it instantly overrided like my consciousness, or any ability to remember that I'm a human being, or that I'm doing something at this place. It's like no memories.
Wow.
No, it was very intense, but it was all that there is, all that there ever was this blue flash of pure intensity. Because it touched the side of my head, so for about 3 seconds, and it felt like a million years, you know.
Wow.
It's really special. Like some people say when they smoke DMT, they go into another world, completely, and they forget who they are. They forget they could took a drug or anything like that. And I could say I have the same words to describe the experience.
You know, the brain acts on electrical impulses, and being electrocuted right with that thing against your head must. I can't believe you came out of that alive. I mean, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's like a miracle. Like, people don't usually walk out of these things, or if they do, they can't speak, or they're badly injured. So yeah, it's kind of and not only that, but like this very porch where it happened, like the real miracle, the way I see it, was that this little girl was playing by the porch for like a week just before we got there to replace the floor. So, I saw her that she was playing at that very spot, and so she could have gotten like 10 times, by the time we got there.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. So instantly when I came back at this and I realized what happened, I was like, man, that's a real miracle. And so I was pretty happy about it, actually. I was like, well, looks like I survived, and there's like 2 miracles here today, so.
That's crazy.
But I didn't know I was insured, and the consequences of an electrocution like that, it often happen with a delay. So in the weeks or months following that, then started to have pain and insomnia and sensory loss also, like not feeling time. I don't feel things quite as good with my fingers.
When did this happen?
This was 4 years ago, so
Oh wow.
in 2016. Yeah.
So like okay, so you said weeks later you just started feeling pain for because I
Yeah.
was wondering if you might have gotten shocked and you're up on a roof and you fell and you also had pain, but it was just from the shock that it whatever however your brain responded. Part of it
Yeah.
was feeling pain.
Well, it's what it does. It's like if you think of nerves and the nervous system as like the brain would be a computer, and the nerves could be like wires running down our body. And so when too much electricity goes through this, the electricity is going to try to go through the nerves because that's where electric impulses is going to be easier
Mhm.
because that's what it does.
They
So,
can
but what
like
it
they
does,
conduct the nerves are conductors. In other
yeah,
words, yeah.
exactly. And there's like an insulation layer around the nerves called the myelin. And when this myelin fatty substance that coats the nerve, when it dissolves, when it gets damaged by too much impulse, it doesn't grow back the same way, and so that will bring like some damage, but with a delay between the accident and the symptoms. It's very akin to complex regional pain syndrome. That's not what I have, but it's pretty much the same in that the nervous system is degrading by too much constant stimulation.
What is your pain like? Like, what does it feel like? Is it just like tensing of the muscles?
It's like a hatching pain. I can compare it to growing pains.
Mm-hmm.
When I grew
Yeah.
up, I had growing pains in my legs.
Yes,
It
I've
was
had
like
those.
hatching, you know.
Were you having that like all the time, or would it come in spurts?
It's worse at night,
Yeah.
and it does wake me up in the morning or during the night as well. But like if I don't like before I had kratom, I tried many medications and none of them work. So for like a year and a half, I was having this intense pain, but without any way to tone it down, and it was pretty constant. Uh,
Mhm.
it still is, but now I do have kratom as a pain management tool, and so that gives me like 4 to 5 hours of pretty good relief, like between, I would say between 50 and 80% relief for about 4 hours. So those are the breaks I get from the pain, but otherwise
Yeah.
it's pretty constant,
What
but
what what
much worse.
medications did you try before you found kratom?
I tried tricyclic antidepressants. I tried 3 of them. So that's like amitriptyline, nortriptyline, um, duloxetine was another one. I tried pregabalin or Lyrica, um, and decipramine also.
So how do all these make you feel, and or are any of these opiates?
No, they are
Okay.
antidepressants that
Yeah.
sometimes work on neuropathic pain. So they'll give it to people that have neuropathic pain for diabetes. And so because my pain is neuropathic, then they thought maybe this would help. And I didn't want any opiates, but also
Mm.
in Canada, it's very hard to get prescribed opiates, like especially at my age. And on top of that, I told them like I'm gonna be dead in 2 years if I start those because I'm in too much pain and this is gonna be forever. So if I start taking those, I fear for my life,
Yeah.
so we decided to go the route
What
of
is
like
what is your
non.
age?
I'm 34.
Oh, okay.
I know what happens with opioids most of the
Yeah.
time. Like for a chronic pain conditions that is gonna last the rest of your life. Like you'll have to take this opioid for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
and tolerance, and people. Because I read a lot online, and people at some point they always say like, or often they often will say, "All right, I started taking this, but then it wasn't enough." And then my doctor doesn't want to give me more, or if he did, then I got used to that much more amount of opioid in my system.
Hmm.
And so after a few years, sometimes people they'll tell they'll say that it's not sustainable as a way to manage their pain, and then they turn to kratom. So
Yeah.
you know I thought might as well go on kratom right away. I don't want to go the opioid route. Plus, it's I guess I was fearing for addiction, for lack of efficacy in the long run. Like
Yeah.
I know there can be really useful. If you get surgery, I want morphine.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but other than that, I try to not take the big guns. If you don't have to.
How did you become homeless? Was the pain so bad you couldn't work anymore?
Yeah, yeah. It had a pretty big impact on my life. I moved away. I lost my house. Everything changed. I had to withdraw into myself and get help. I kept a few friends, like a couple. Came closer to my family, and I've been doing some volunteering around. But for a while, I would say before I had kratom, it was really hard to picture myself living in the future. Like I was getting really suicidal, and that's like one of the reasons I'll always say it. Like kratom saved my life, because if you can't live your life like always being in pain, not able to sustain your own cost of living, and suffering on top of that, it's not gonna work for everybody. It surely wasn't working for me. But as soon as I got some relief from the kratom, like within 3 weeks, I moved out. I was living in a field in some shady uh, farmer that let me stay in this field,
Yeah.
and I was living in my car sometimes. But yep, and within 3 weeks, I was like, all right, I think I'm good. I had the energy to start looking for roommates. I found some people that didn't know me or anything, but it was in a bigger city, so I tried that. A couple of weeks after I moved in, I started doing volunteering for the food bank,
Yeah.
and 2 months later, I was like fully active, doing as much as I could. I was doing very small shifts, but every day I would go there, do some a few hours of volunteering at the food bank, and then COVID hit. With the COVID thing, after a few months of that, I was like, all right, I'll go back in the cabin, I think. Um, but I found a better cabin, and but yeah, so I took kratom like as my only way to relieve pain for about 6 months.
When did you first discover it? Like, how long ago was that?
I knew about kratom for like over 10 years, but
Really?
I've always been curious about plant medicines and these kind of
Yeah.
things. But I thought, it's probably not going to be very strong. And also, I thought because my pain was neuropathic, and that I read that like morphine and opioids in general work on the nociceptive pain. I thought
Yeah.
these were like two kind of pains very different. So I thought I'm not gonna go do morphine to relieve, or anything like that to relieve neuropathic pain. But I was wrong about that, because like a very small amount of kratom like takes care of it really well. But yeah, so I didn't consider taking kratom. That's why I spent like a year and a half trying 5 different medications that all made me sick, one after the other. And at the end, I was like, all right, I'm done with these pills. I'm gonna give kratom a shot. You know, or I'm gonna end it. But I thought let's try Kratom first, and so yeah, it really did save my life.
That's
This
awesome.
was 1 year ago exactly.
1 year ago. Okay, that's awesome. That is great. So
Yeah, no
what
worries.
about ketamine infusion? So I remember ketamine as Special K in the '90s, raves. What is ketamine, and like, what does it do for you?
So ketamine is a very old. It's the most widely used anesthetic in the world. They use it in war zones, in emergency situations. They'll use it with kids. It's preferable to opioids because it doesn't depress respiration. So
Yeah,
it doesn't, you can't overdose from it in a
just
way
like
that you would
kratom,
from.
the other K thing. Kratom doesn't
Yeah,
repress
exactly.
yeah.
The two Ks, they don't kill. So it's an NMDA receptor antagonist. The way it works is that it shuts down communication between certain parts of the brain by shutting down the main excitatory neurotransmitter in the brain, which is glutamate. When too much pain is felt for an extended period of time, um, it leads to neurons death, and they die because they're overstimulated. The glutaminergic neurons are overstimulated for too long, and so it's like if you leave the switch on. It's like if you try to plug way too many Christmas lights on a small, cheap extension cord. So at some point, the extension cord is gonna eat up and it's gonna melt. And when it melts like that, and it's gonna do spark and it's gonna get worse.
Yeah.
So what ketamine does is that it unplugs that whole chain of Christmas lights. And it lets your body during that time, what your brain does is with the BDNF and GDNF that are released in your brain, it reorganizes itself. And it does that really quickly. Within a few hours, the pain is like absolutely gone. It's pretty much instant, but you feel like a buzz. But when that buzz goes away, they leave you leave the clinic, and you walk out the clinic feeling like you never heard it before in your life. It's very and feels
Wow.
very clear headed too.
They inject it? Is it
Yeah,
IV?
it's a
Yeah.
slow it's a slow IV infusion. So they'll push the same amount. It's very constant, the rate of delivery, and so that's for like 3 hours. About mine are for 3 hours, but the depression protocol calls for 1 hour. So roughly the protocols for pain are about 3 times the dose and 3 times the amount of time that you have this infusion, and it's gonna be repeated every like 4 to 8 weeks.
You must have done a lot of research into how the brain works.
Oh,
Is it?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's not much information on this, and I really wanted to know what happens with me and
Yeah.
what can I do, because there isn't many research done on it, and there's only one hospital that will treat like people that got an electrical injury, and it's not available to everybody that would need it. So I
Yeah.
really had to become my own researcher, my own doctor, if you will, and I had to convince my doctors that this treatment was right. So I did a lot of research on it, and I had to find second opinions to make him feel secure to refer me. And he already knew that I take kratom,
Yeah.
so
I
this
was
was
gonna
another
ask.
thing.
That's one of my general questions. Is do you have a doctor that you can talk to about kratom, and what do they say?
Yes, absolutely. I got a family doctor about 1 year after the injury, and so he's willing to work with me, and I'm totally honest with him. I told him like there's a few natural things maybe I would like to try, but I'm coming to you because like I don't know what to do. And he said, well, let's start with the pills, and then if they don't work, you're still you'll still be able to go your natural route or anything you want.
That's good.
So I was like, okay. So I spent 1.5 years trying medication with him, and the last one made me so sick. I was just nosy. I had nausea like all day, every day during the night. I would wake up like feeling like I would throw up on myself while sleeping.
Oh man.
So it was bad. That was Cymbalta. That was the worst. So when I finished Cymbalta, I was like, look, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm never gonna take those pills again. And so I walked out of his office. But like 2 months later, he saw me again, and I told him, I have some news for you. I take Kratom, and it helps me a lot. So I want to talk to you about it. And he's like, you don't have to convince me. I can see right away you're doing much better. If I looked like shit and like begging for money or something, you would have seen like, okay, maybe that's not so good for you. But the difference was so clear, before and after, when you're in pain and when you're not. There's a big difference in mood. It shows in your face. It's everything's different.
Is Kratom legal in Canada?
Absolutely. It's not legal for you can't sell it uh, and tell people to use it. But I think as we do, these things, we talk about it, and that's why I respect you so much, because we need like public speakers. We need to hear this, in the news, in the medias, over internet, and social medias. We have to talk about it. We have to write letters to our officials. It needs to we needs to make some noise, because this can help like so many people. This it saved my life, so I'm always gonna be repeating that. Whether people like it or not, we have to let people know that there is an alternative to opioids and pain and depression.
Is there a different attitude in general in Canada than from the United States with the type of drug use that doesn't promote, antisocial behavior like kratom, marijuana, a little bit of beer, maybe.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's definitely different. We legalized weed even for rec purpose recently,
Nationally, yeah.
and it went pretty well. Like I only a few people were like, "Oh, maybe that's not so good," but mostly like people were ready. There were no big discussion about it. Most people were
Yeah.
happy and relieved that finally they would, you know, uh, be smart about it and change that law. And they don't regret it. Like everybody's happy that weed is legal now. It does generate revenues. Huge companies are here, because of that. So and I think the natural substances. I don't know about the difference between Canada and the U.S., but I think our society, the both of us, I think, are getting more open to natural alternatives,
Yeah.
because it's natural. And sometimes you'll hear something like synthetic weed, spice, K2, this kind of thing. But when you tell people, look, it's in the coffee tree family. That's just a plant. That's the leaf from a tree, and it's grounded up, and that's all there is. And you can't die. You can't overdose on it. So that's usually the way I tell people about it. And I never really had any real pushback. Like some people would say, but yeah, but is it addictive? Or does it make you? Does it slow down your reflexes? Or like people are curious, but I think people are ready to hear more about the good alternatives to bad pharmaceutical drugs we have.
Yeah.
I think there's more of that than opposition to a new thing.
How do you do a toss and wash, or do you drink it as a tea? How do you prepare it?
Oh man, I tried the toss and wash once and I almost died. Yeah, no, I just swish it with some. I just mix it up in a cup and drink it more often with just water. But if I have time ahead, I'll maybe do a tea, just for drop hot water over it and
Yeah.
wait till it cools down. I didn't find much difference in effects. Like between, between a high dose and a low dose, or between making tea, or like toss and wash, or mix and wash, or any of those things. Like I don't feel much difference at all, even between strains. It's pretty much like
With me too,
pain
yeah.
relief. That's it.
But a lot of people say less is more. You can taper down and still do like 2 teaspoons a day and get the same effects.
I started when I started, I would take about 30 grams per day,
Yeah, that's a lot.
and
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, it was quite a lot. I was hurting. I was like,
yeah,
but I just realized it wasn't necessary, so I tapered back down to like 15 grams.
yeah.
And then since I started ketamine infusions, like I take always a few days with no kratom at all, because I don't hurt at all for like close to a week. And then after that, I'll start slowly. So I would say my average now is about 8 grams per day. The effective dose of kratom is so low compared to like morphine, or even like ADHD meds. Like a lot of people take kratom for to be able to focus, and I still think that even for those people, kratom would be oftentimes a better choice than Ritalin or Adderall would be.
With pure caffeine, you would die sooner than with pure mitragynine, which is
Oh yeah, for
why we
sure.
should treat this thing as more of like a coffee, tea type of thing, and not as a drug that's as dangerous as fentanyl or some of these approved drugs by the pharmaceutical companies that are much more damaging. But have you ever had any bad side effects with kratom?
Not at all. I
Yeah.
never had one side effect, not whatsoever. I can't believe it. Actually, I was like, am I not supposed to feel bad at some point if I feel good from something? But no, nothing.
Do you have preferred strains or different kinds of kratom or extracts or anything like that?
I never tried extracts. I tried making a batch of extracts myself
Yeah.
in the beginning. I was it was hard in the beginning. I had to look for the effect of kratom, because I think I was expecting a buzz of some kind, and
Yeah.
that's why I kept taking more, but it never happened. Like I never had maybe euphoria a little bit, but I was looking for an opioid type of buzz, and I've never tried opioids, so it was hard for me to pinpoint what that was. Um, and I stopped doing it because I was like, well, if I just take 4 grams, my pain is mostly gone. And if I take 25 grams, which I did, my pain is gone and nothing more happens. Just it just were you have more sludge to drink.
Yeah.
So I stopped doing it. There was no point into it. Doesn't have, like, for me, I don't see at all how I could abuse this thing, because
What did you
it
do
doesn't.
to decrease your dose? Because a lot of people build up a tolerance, and some people take a break 4 days out of the month. Or what did you do to decrease your dose?
Well, I wanted to reduce my dose from 30 to 15 in 2 weeks. So I took every day I would take 1 gram less than the day before. So after 2 weeks, I was down to 15. That's it, and I didn't feel that I was taking less. So after the 2 weeks, I was down at 15. I was feeling the exact same pain relief, the exact same way than I did when I was at 30 grams per day. So I was like, all right, maybe I can still go lower. And I found that there's like a minimum, but I was able to go down to like 10 grams per day and
Yeah.
still feel the same amount of pain relief. But then when I start to take doses below 2.5 grams, they they don't work as long. Sometimes they don't work at all.
Yeah.
So but I don't know. Maybe it's my like tolerance is is there. But what I found is like if you go high too quick, maybe you'll have some extra pain relief.
Yeah.
If you go down too quick, maybe you'll have some withdrawal symptoms. But if you just do it like, give yourself like 1 or 2 weeks to reach your next desired dose, like especially when you want to go down, you just say, all right, I'm going to do, Monday I'll take 10 grams per dose, then Tuesday I'll take 8, and keep that up for a couple of days, and then I'll do 6 grams, and so you can go down to a smaller dose, within a week, no problem. But everybody is different. Some people need like a month maybe to do that transition. Some people can do it overnight. So it really depends, and you gotta listen to your body and what it's telling you.
But do you think is it well known? Is it becoming more well known in Quebec or Canada in general? What do you think?
Not well known at all.
Yeah.
I don't think. I don't know anyone in real life that I've met in person that takes Kratom. Like the people I know take Kratom are friends I made over the internet on Kratom forums. Like I don't think there's a million people that use it. That would be very surprising to me. But no, there's no Kratom association, but we should do one. Like if there's some Canadian fellows that want to contact me or you about that, and that would be a good idea.
Thank you very much, Maxime Ruel. The music is Risey. The song is called Memories of Thailand. The Kratom Science Podcast is written and produced by me, Brian Gallagher, for KratomScience.com. Follow us on Twitter at Kratom Science. Like and subscribe on whichever platform you listen to. Give us a good review, and take care.